Hello, sweet friends, and welcome. This is Gina, and today we are going to tackle lesson number 2 in Finding Your Style 2. So lesson number 1, I will link it below. That was ditching the journal and gathering a collection of all kinds of junk papers. So what we're going to do today is we are going to take one of those junk papers, and I'll tell you what kind of paper you're going to want to look for in your pile here in just a second. And we are going to go through this part right here, which is the why. Why is it that you do what you do? Whether you are a writer, or you're a watercolor artist, or you're a scrapbooker, or you're an art journaler or a junk journaler, why is it, whatever your art is that you do, why is it that you do that? So today, and I'm a person that likes to mark things off, so let's mark off ditch the journal because we did that one already. We're going to use those papers and we're going to actually find out why we do what we do. And we're going to come up with more than one answer on this. The paper that you're going to want today is going to be a long paper. You're going to want one of your bigger papers. So go shopping through your stash. You may need to go looking outside of your stash. And that's actually what I did. So let me show you what I came up with. So you need a paper that's going to be long, not necessarily tall, but we're going to want something that's long. So I started searching, and I couldn't find a paper that I felt was long enough. So I found this envelope, and we had used it for something else, and I think this is going to be perfect. So I'm going to keep this, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tear it. And you could cut, if you have something like this and you want to cut it, that's fine. Okay, so I have, ooh, this is perfect. So now I have 2 pieces of paper. So I think what I'll do is I will rip it just like that. So now I have a perfect sized piece of paper, and it's got this on the back side, which is fine, no big deal. I'm going to keep it just like this. This will work for me. Okay, so when I am in my classroom with my babies at school, and in case you don't know, I teach science to middle schoolers. One of the things that I do to help them put information in their brain and connect it to information that is already there is I use a lot of graphic organizers. I am a very visual learner, so and the kids know this because we take a multiple intelligence inventory at the beginning of the year, and we find out what kind of learners we are. And so I am a visual learner, and I try to help my kids visualize a lot of things by using graphic organizers. So today we're going to make a graphic organizer. Now, if you are not a visual learner, you have that in your brain, you just may not use it a lot. This might be tough for you, which just means you're exercising that part of your brain, which is totally cool because it's just making it stronger. So you may struggle with this, and that's okay. That's part of the process. The struggle is the best part. If you are a visual learner, then this is probably going to work really well for you. If you're a logical person, this will probably work well for you, but you might get caught up in perfectionism. So try to get rid of the perfectionism, and let's just go with this. Remember, this is junk. This is junk. It was headed to the trash, okay? And there's nothing that we're going to do today that cannot be undone. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on why you do what you do. But in order to focus on that, we need to dig a little bit deeper, and we need to find out, what do you do? What do you do, and what have you done? Essentially, what is your story? So our graphic organizer that we're going to make today is going to be a timeline, okay? So I'm going to make a timeline, and You can make your own version. That is totally fine, but this is the way I'm going to do it. This is the way that works the best for me. So I'm going to take a long piece of paper and I'm going to fold it in half like this, just so that I have a line right here. Again, you do what works best for you. And I'm going to try to keep this in frame. I'm sitting, and I think what I'll do is I'll just mark up here so I know, and I'll mark down here, and make sure I'm going to mark over here, and I'll mark over here. Okay, so now I have my paper. On here, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to put in chronological order my process, what it is that I have done throughout my creative time. So obviously over here, I'm going to end with 2019, which would be now. And I'm doing this in pencil because it's all erasable. That is totally cool. I'm going to also go over here and I'm going to start with when I was a little kid. And full disclosure, I just have to tell you, the neighbors have just let their dogs out, so you're probably going to hear some barking. I apologize about that. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Every time I hit record on my camera, the neighbors let their dogs out. Okay, so over here, this is when I was like a little kid, and I'm just gonna put notes on here, okay? So I would say this is when I was a little kid, so I'm just gonna write little kid. And I would keep diaries. I think I had a Hello Kitty diary. I think I've showed it to you guys before. And then I think when I was in, let's do 7th grade. So this was a really bad thing that I did, but there was a collection of science books that were getting ready to go to the dumpster, and they were just sitting in the classroom, and I was kind of being a deviant child, and so I swiped a 7th grade science book, and I took it home and I turned it into my diary. Okay, I shouldn't have done it, but who knew that many years later it would actually turn into what I actually do, which is write in books. So I'm gonna say up till about, oh gosh, from this time period right here, I'm gonna call this my photo album time period. Whoops, if I could spell. Okay, and again, I'm just chicken scratching all of this stuff. I'm just writing, jotting it down. I'm gonna say that this happened up until, gosh, my kids, I'm gonna go till 1999, because that was when my youngest was born and I was still putting things in photo albums. So this is probably gonna be from the 1980s to 1999. I'm doing photo albums. When my 3rd child came along, I abandoned photo albums. Couldn't keep up with them. So I kept taking pictures, but they just went into a drawer. So I'm just gonna go down here, pics in a drawer. I couldn't keep up. So I just would print the pictures and I would just throw them in a drawer. Then a significant time hit, 2003. One day I went and I got into the drawer. I pulled out an envelope of pictures and I started to scrapbook. Okay, so that was significant. That was my first scrapbooking experience. I was hooked. I could not stop. So I scrapbooked, oh my gosh, for just like a mad woman from 2003. And then I would say about 2006. So I'm going to put 2006 here. I started to want something more. I started to get a little more artistic. And so in 2006, I started making mini books. And my scrapbook layouts were becoming more and more creative. They were less and less about what was going on and more about the creative part. So this doesn't have anything to do with my creativity, but this is actually something significant. So in 2007, we moved to KC. And while it doesn't seem like it's very significant to my creativity, it actually was, because moving to KC offered up a lot more opportunities, and that really led me into the direction that I was searching for, but I couldn't figure out what I wanted. Okay, so then 2009, this was significant. My daughter in high school is an artist, and she bought this book. I remember we went to Barnes & Noble. I bought a book on scrapbooking, and she ended up with this book, and I've showed you this book before. She brought it home, kind of looked through it, no big deal, and it was sitting on the table, and I picked it up one day, and my world changed. I was like, this is what I have been searching for. This is what my scrapbooking wanted and needed. I was still scrapbooking, but it just wasn't filling this need that I had. I mean, sure, I was documenting things, and I was, you know, taking care of birthdays and Christmases and stuff like that, but that wasn't what I was searching for. I needed something deep down in my soul. I was searching for something, and I just couldn't figure out what it was. So this is when I discovered art journaling. And it started with that book. So art journaling in 2009. So from 2009 to about, oh man, I'm trying to think here. I would say, let's see, I'm trying to figure out, let's go 2011. So from 2009 to 2011, I was art journaling, and I would call it art journal versus scrapbook. And here's why. I would art journal, because my time, you know, during the week I would do my job, but then on the weekends, if I had time, I would have some creative time. So I would either art journal or I'd scrapbook. But here was the weird thing. If I art journaled, I felt like I was cheating on scrapbooking. If I scrapbooked, I felt like I was neglecting art journaling, and that's what I really wanted to do. But I felt like I was obligated to this. It was this weird play of emotions, and so I would go back and forth, and so that's why I'm going to call this art journal versus scrapbooking. During this time when I was art journaling, I had these journals that I worked on, and so we're going to call these, and I'm just going to draw a line, and we're going to go down here. We're going to call these the dark journals, and I'm going to come back to that. Around about 2011, I discovered this thing called Project Life, which I had kind of already been doing. I didn't call it Project Life, but it was just taking pockets, scrapbook pockets, and putting things in. So I tried my version, and man, that was a lot of work. And I felt like during this time, it was all about documenting, and I wasn't getting any of my creative juices at all. So I did this for a little while, probably a couple of years I did this. And then I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm jumping into art journaling. And so around about 2012, I was really into composition books. I loved them as journals. And they just seemed to work really well. I pretty much abandoned Project Life. I only had one kiddo still in school, and so he really was my only one I still needed to document. So I was able to give up my scrapbooking. That was a huge thing, because when my kids got older, I felt like I had permission to give up my scrapbooking, which that just freed me up. Once I did that, and I started into these composition books, I kind of got into planners, and I kind of started mixing the two. About that time is when I started taking old books, and I would alter them, and I would turn them into my planners, and my journals, and I was really playing around with how books work, the paper that's in books, and I really got into this whole thing of thrifting and estate sales and things like that. So this is going to be my thrifting time and estate sales. Okay, now I know you're looking at this and you're like, this is a hot mess. It is a hot mess. That's okay. It's going to be messy. It's going to be messy. This is okay. So thrifting and estate sales was a big thing during here this time. I started to accumulate a lot of stuff, and when I accumulated a lot of stuff, I felt like, okay, I need to do something with this other than just hoarding it. So in 2014, this is when I started my Etsy shop. Okay, about 2000, oh, well, was it? No, it was 2015. All right, so hang on here. Let's go 2000, oh, let's do 2014 was when I really got into planners. Let's do that. We'll fix it this way. And then 2015 was when I did my Etsy shop. All right, so we just erase it and we move it over here. This was when I was doing altered books. And I was trying to make books, but I wasn't very good at it. Okay, so then at about 2000, actually, I know the exact date. It was December 26, 2016. This is when I did my YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm good with that. I've got my YouTube channel going. I've got Instagram in here. So I think I did that around about the time that I have Etsy. So I'll just put IG in here. And on this time also, I think this is when I first started YouTube. I tried out the Traveler's Notebooks. So I had found it was at a resale store. I had found a Traveler's Notebook, and it had the cover, which you can see I altered because, well, I can't just leave anything alone. So there was a Traveler's Notebook and an insert, and it was at this resale store. So I bought it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna try this, because I'd seen a bunch of these on the internet and everything, and I was like, all right, I want to do this. And I did it, and I did it for, I think I have 2 or 3 of these inserts, and I loved it, loved it, loved it. It was really cool. It was really fun to try this and to try to get everything in here. And I look back on this and I'm like, this is really cool. But it just wasn't filling everything I needed. I loved the size. I loved being able to hold it, but the size also was a drawback because I couldn't put everything in here that I wanted. I couldn't do my planning. If I was documenting something, then I couldn't put my planning in here. If I was planning something, then I felt like I didn't have enough room for documenting. And my other thing was I wasn't really doing this part right here, which was this thrifting and estate sales, because there's only so much you can put in here. Like you could put papers and stuff in here, but what I was really looking for was how can I repurpose books and larger things. So while I love this, and I have a couple of different ones, I love this, I kind of was like, okay, that's just not for me, which is a significant part of my journey, is trying different things out. And then during this time, I think I just kind of got into my whole altered book stage. So this is going to be probably from 2017 to 2019. I really just focused on journals, making journals, getting better at making journals. Because I had my YouTube channel, I really focused on the process. Loving the process and being able to share that process on YouTube. And so my art process. And then I also really got into fabric and heirlooms. So this was around about the time that my grandmother passed away, and my mom, well, she had passed away a long time ago, but my mom had started to go through her stuff and really gave me a lot of things from my family, fabrics and papers and things like this. So this became, I would say, probably last summer. So I would say probably about 2018. I really started getting into this whole heirloom thing and just being able to find the stories. Ooh, finding stories from discarded items. There we go. Okay, so I know you're looking at this and you're like, okay, Gina, this is a hot mess. What are we gonna do with this? Well, we're gonna go back. This is my story. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say, okay, what was my why? When I was doing this, what was my why? When I was doing this, what was my why? What was my why? So I'm gonna change colors. I'm gonna go to, let's see. I think what I'll do is I'm just gonna write why right here. I always like to have a key when I make something. Because again, with a graphic organizer, it's taking information that you want to convey, and you are going to help your reader through the graphic, the pictures, and the text that you made. So I'm going to help guide my reader. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put my Y in purple. Okay, so let's go back to this. Why did I keep a diary as a little kid? Because I'll be honest, I kept a diary because everybody else did. Because I thought you were supposed to. I mean, I guess I didn't know any different. Because everyone did. But how did it make me feel? I felt really icky because I wasn't very good at writing. Ooh, so I'm going to add another category. I'm going to put this. I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to add another category. My category is my feeling. And we're going to do it in green. Again, this is my way. My way is going to be very, very all over the place. My kids at school, they know my way is wonky and all over the place. And I have some very linear kids that like to keep things nice and neat. They use rulers and things like that. So you figure out how you want to make yours. So my feeling for this, because everyone else did, and my feeling was, it wasn't me. It was too sterile because there was no pictures. It was just writing. And to me, that was boring. I also did not like my voice. And by voice, I mean, when I went back and read it, did I like how I portrayed my thoughts and feelings and stuff like that? So that was this right here. That was my little kid. Hello Kitty diary. So 7th grade, the science book diary. Actually, why did I do it? Because I wanted to document. I was starting to hang out with friends more, and I wanted to write down my adventures. I also had a boyfriend, and so I wanted to write that stuff down. I loved this because it was secret. And it was disguised, you know? But I didn't keep up with it. It was still just writing, and I just was having problems. I just was not a good writer. So photo albums. And you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'll go... Actually, no, I'll go back and do that later. Okay, so photo albums. Why did I do photo albums? Well, okay, I'm gonna be totally honest. Because as a mom, you're obligated to do photo albums, right? When I was in high school, I always kept photo albums. I think I told you guys I got a camera for like, it was a Kodak disc camera, and I got it for a Christmas like when I was in middle school or something. So I always had pictures, and I always just put them into photo albums. So that was just a way to keep my pictures. Now, when I was a mom, you're kind of obligated to just keep photo albums. And so photo albums, why did I have photo albums? I had photo albums because moms do. And I documented, but here's what I documented. I documented milestones. You know, I wasn't into that everyday thing yet. I was still documenting birthdays and Christmases and stuff like that. To me, back then, I didn't understand that documenting the everyday was something, I didn't even know that it was something. So I just documented milestones. So photo albums was me documenting milestones. I did move, as my kids got older, I did move more and more towards taking pictures of the everyday. How did it make me feel? I loved it. I'm not gonna lie. How do you not love, you love your baby pictures. I loved my baby pictures of my kids. But in a photo album, it was just the pictures. There were no words. So it was kind of like my diaries were words, no pictures. My photo albums were pictures, no words. Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Was words, no pics, and then pics, no words. Okay. So again, with a graphic organizer, you do whatever you want. This is just a little thought that I have down here. A lot of times when I have thoughts, I'll just kind of draw attention to them. There you go. So this is diary versus photo albums. Okay. All right, so then scrapbooking. Holy moly, scrapbooking changed everything. So why did I scrapbook? To tell stories. And how did it feel? Oh my gosh. I cannot, it was, there we go. I'm just gonna write it down. Pure joy. It was pure joy. The first scrapbooking layout I did, I just had this stupid smile on my face the whole time. It was, finally, I was able to marry diaries and photo albums together, and it worked. It was pure joy. And I remember my first set of scrapbooking supplies. I'm gonna write that down. Okay, so my first set of supplies was I had a pack of neon cardstock. Got it at Walmart. I had a, let's see, small alphabet stamps. And 2 stamp pads. And what else did I have? Something real, oh, I think I had the deco scissors. Everybody had those. And it was awesome. And of course, me being me and not being able to conform, at this time, it was the scrapbooks that had the little screws and everything in them, and you had to do it in the book. And I was like, what in the world is that? So being a teacher, I was just like, hello, I'm gonna do this 8.5 by 11 on cardstock, and then I'm gonna put it in a page protector. So I was nonconformist there. I'm gonna write that down. That's kind of a story of my life. I'm always a nonconformist because I did the binder and all this good stuff. So yeah, okay. So that was 2003 to 2006. I started making mini books. I was able to tell more of the story there. So Oh, I was actually able to get a little more creative when I started using mini books, and I liked that. Okay, so now we move to Kansas City, 2009, art journaling versus scrapbooking. This was a huge dilemma in my life. So I'm going to write this down, go over it. Versus scrapbook. Because remember I said I felt like I was cheating on one of them. And that was huge during this time. So we're going to there we go, put a box around that because that is important. All right, Project Life in 2011. I started doing that to, well, because it seemed like everybody was doing it. It was, again, to document. But I lacked the creativity. It was lacking. It was way too structured for me. I mean, look at this, guys. Do you think that this, do you think I would be able to do Project Life? I'll have to show you some of my Project Life. I have 4 or 5 albums. You can see how I did it. And again, nonconformist. You can see how I did it and didn't follow the rules. So I lacked my creativity. So I was going back and forth. It was that dilemma of, do I want to be creative? Because art journaling allowed me to be creative, whereas scrapbooking just was about the documenting. Ooh, I need to write that down. Okay, so, ooh, I need some more paint pens. All right, let's try another pen here. Okay. Oh, here we go. So this was creative. And this was stories. And I was having trouble going back and forth between the creative and the stories. I wanted to create, but I also wanted to do the stories too. Okay. Composition books. I loved that. That was a fun time for me. Oh, I'll have to go back down to this too. Okay, so composition books. Why did I do that? It was, let me find my purple pen. Purple pen. Okay, this was totally fun. It was art. There was some documenting. And it was I was starting to feel very free and really starting to find my art. Okay, so let's go down here. Art journals. Holy moly, this was significant. This was so significant for me. This was the creativity and art that I craved, and that was because I had always been told I wasn't an artist, and so I felt like I wasn't an artist, and this made me feel like an artist. Art journaling made me feel like an artist. Made me feel like an artist. Okay, so my dark journals were the ones I did first. And I'm going to be straight up with you guys. That was therapy. That was some very cheap therapy. So we're going to write that down because that is important. Art journaling for therapy, that is very important. Planners. I loved planners. Planners were a good way to document. Of course, me being nonconformist, there's no way I could ever do a store-bought planner. So I was able to get creative. And I loved it. I'm going to just put a heart here because I did love it. But I still wanted to marry the stories, the creative, and the planning all together. Altered books. Okay, so here's where this thrifting and estate sales comes in. So let's go, let's see if this marker writes. Oh, it does. Okay. Repurpose. Am I going to have enough room? There we go. So thrift stores and estate sales, altered books. That was all a great way for me to repurpose and reuse. This is the science teacher coming out in me. This is a great way for me to repurpose and reuse all of these discarded items. Because I'll be honest, guys, scrapbooking and just doing scrapbooking for so long just totally ruined me for supplies. I got so turned off because the latest and greatest paper, and I would save all my money so I could buy the latest and greatest and blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as I had enough money and I'd go out and I'd buy it, guess what? That was the old paper and the old stickers, and it wasn't the new and cool anymore. And yeah, so one of the things I did was I just quit following scrapbooking on social media because it just drove me nuts. And then I just quit going to scrapbooking stores. I just quit buying new materials. So every once in a while I'll go pick up a paper pad or something just because I want to add it to my journals. But yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that. So repurposing, that was a huge thing. And that's where my estate sales and my thrifting and my altered books came into play. So I think what I'll do is I'll just go over this to kind of highlight it. And just kind of draw your eye to, that's where that orange comes into play. It's the whole point of the repurposing. There we go. Okay. I liked the Traveler's Notebook. I don't think I need to really do anything about that. YouTube, this is going to be a huge one. So what did YouTube do? Okay, first of all, why did I do YouTube? I did YouTube because I felt alone. I felt I wanted to connect. And that could be Instagram too, but I really feel like my YouTube was what Instagram, Etsy, and YouTube, I feel like could all three be connect. I wanted to connect, and I wanted to inspire. I wanted to share. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so I wanted to connect, inspire, and share, and that was my YouTube and my Etsy. So let's do, I'm going to go back and do colors with those here in just a second. I want to finish this up. Okay, so finding stories from discarded items, that goes along with repurposing, so we'll put an arrow there. Fabric and heirlooms, oh yeah, let's do this in orange. Really going back and digging into the story. Oh, I like that. Let's write that down. Digging into the story. Okay. All right, so I know this looks like a hot mess. Let me look through my camera and see what we got here. Okay, so go back to our purpose. Our purpose for today was we wanted to find out the why we do what we do. And whatever it is you do, whether it's writing or journaling or art or crafts or bookmaking, watercolor, whatever it is that you do. So we made a timeline so we could map out everything we've done. And then we've gone through and we've said, okay, here's why we did it. And here's the feeling that we got from it. Now you can change those. You don't have to keep them the same. This is our prompt, so that's why I'm doing why. I liked the feeling because it made it personal to me. So now what I'm going to go do is I'm going to actually clean this up. I'm going to turn this into something that's a little more readable. I'm going to speed it up, but I'm going to go through, I'm going to erase a few things, and I'm going to make this pretty much into a work of art. Okay, friends, it looks like I am about done because I'm about out of room here. So hopefully you can see it. I've got a huge mess. So yes, it is crazy. It is all over the place. So here's my takeaway from this. This is a great visual. This is a great way for me when I'm stuck, I'm blocked, I'm feeling no mojo, to go back and look at this. Here's what I've done. Here's where I've been. Here's all the things I've done. And here is why I do them. So what I did was everything that I did, I wrote in purple, and then I went back and I just kind of highlighted some of the words with a highlighter. I made my timeline a little more tidy, and so one of the things you can do when you're making a graphic organizer or something like this is to keep things consistent. So I made each one of my things that I did on my timeline, I wrote in black Sharpie, and then I did my times in a purple Sharpie, and then I put a purple box around it. I have my why up here. I have my feeling down here. So feelings are in green. I could go back and highlight those things if I wanted to in green. And I may do that just to kind of make them stand out. And then I just kind of wrote, you know, little notes and stuff out to the side, and I left them there. And it's okay that I covered them up because that's okay. That's part of the process, is I just have layers upon layers upon layers in this whole process. I put some stickers and some stamps just to add a little more visual interest to this. I put the label for the little golden books and then drew dotted lines to show, because I forgot, that's a huge part of my story, is that I am addicted to little golden books, and I have been forever, ever since I was a little kid. I added a piece of fabric. The stamps over here remind me of my grandparents, because I've really kind of gotten in tune with my grandparents and my grandparents' stories as I've been going through this process, and as I've gotten farther and farther in this process. A huge part of this is my love for repurposing, and so this is orange, and so I drew arrows to kind of show every time there is something that has to do with repurposing, which there's something right here too. So we'll draw, I drew arrows and dotted lines to show that I'm doing that repurposing, because that's a huge part of the altered books, and it's a huge part of my Etsy and YouTube and Instagram, because it's kind of my platform, is I want to use things that are already out there. One of my big struggles I wrote up here, art journaling versus scrapbooking, which is kind of interesting because it kind of mimics this struggle down here, the diary versus the photo album. Trying to think what else. I put a circle around the pure joy, because that was truly a time that I just cherish in my heart. I remember that time period of when I first started scrapbooking. It was like a door had been opened up that I didn't even know existed. A couple of things that I did was I used a white colored pencil, because my background paper was dark. I used a white colored pencil to kind of highlight these bubbles right here. And yeah, I think that's about it. And the very last thing I did was I put a hello, my name is. And then I put, here's where I am today. I am a bookmaker, I am an artist, and I am a preserver of stories. And yeah, I like this. And it really got me thinking about my process. And it really made me think about why I do what I do. So I may add some more stuff to this. It's not done. It doesn't have to be done. I can always go back and add more notes and stuff. So here is your assignment. Your assignment is to create a graphic organizer. It can be whatever you want. It could be a web, it could be a list, it could be a table, it could be a timeline, and chart your story. Where did you start on your creative journey? You can go as far back as last year, or you can go as far back as, you know, when you were a little kid. What have you done? Maybe you tried knitting. Maybe you tried mail art. Who knows? But that's part of your journey. So put it in here. Put how it made you feel. Why did you do it? What was the point in doing it? I'll be honest, and something I left out, and I really should go back and put in here. towards the end of my scrapbooking, I really got into, I wanted recognition. I wanted to be on a design team, and I wanted to be published in a magazine. And I got so caught up in that and buying the latest and greatest materials that I kind of lost sight of why I was doing what I was doing. So I feel like I need to add that in there, but that's okay to put the icky stuff down, because the icky stuff is still part of your story. And then go back and really kind of highlight, okay, what stands out? What is my why that stands out? What is the why that makes me happy? The documenting, the creating, the connecting, the inspiring, because it's fun. Yeah, go back and pull out your why. Okay. All right. I'd love to see what you come up with. How about this? If you make something and you would like to share it, why don't we start, let's start a thread on Instagram, and let's have our thread be hashtag finding your style too. How about that? Hashtag finding your style too. And let's see what your graphic organizer looks like. All right, my friends, thank you for joining me for this really long lesson of finding your style too. I hope you're healthy, I hope you're happy, and I hope you do something creative today and make your graphic organizer. I cannot wait to see it. Bye.